Welcome back to Tatooine Tableflip. I'm Jimmie, and today I'll be looking at Yamatai for Queen Himiko's Smile from Days of Wonder. I'm going to grab some tea and we'll get to it. Yamatai for Queen Himiko's Smile is an Asian-themed network-building strategy game for 2 to 4 players. Published by Days of Wonder and designed by Bruno Cathala and Mark Pakyan, the game is light on rules but deep in strategy. I first became enamored with Japan back in the mid-'80s when I was still in high school, and the country has been a source of great fascination to me ever since. When my school decided to offer Japanese courses, I leapt at the chance to learn the language. But I came out of those last 2 years not knowing much more about the history than I had going in, and I spoke just enough of the language to keep myself from getting killed, and really even that was debatable. If we could stroll through a montage of the years between then and now, we'd see me learn the language to a fairly fluent level, visit the country more times than I think I can count, and even gain a Japanese family-in-law. Sprinkled over all of these experiences was the history of Japan, something I hadn't even realized I was learning until one afternoon in Ogaki City. I was discussing this with a Japanese friend of mine, and it occurred to me just how much of his country's history I knew, ranging back to the samurai and the daimyo. Strangely though, Yamatai never really pinged my radar until about the middle or so of last year when I was reading a book about Japanese history. I was intrigued, but it seemed kind of a minor thing, so I never really bothered to follow up. That is, till earlier this year. In January, Days of Wonder announced they were releasing a board game based on the legend of Yamatai, which left me immediately intrigued sight unseen, based solely on their reputation. A little while ago, it seemed like the game was released to everywhere except here in the US, which left me twisting in agony as I eagerly awaited its arrival. Finally, here it is. This beautiful beast is Yamatai for Queen Himiko's Smile, and it sees you and your friends competing under mandate to see who will be the better builder in the mystic land of Yamatai. Here's how it works. You and your friends are going to be sailing your ships into the archipelago of Yamatai, searching for the greatest places to build. Along the way, you'll be sampling some of the flavors of the local culture and performing other duties that help you in your quest to become the greatest architect in the eyes of Queen Himiko. This is accomplished via these fleet tiles that act both as a drafting mechanic and as a place turn indicator. Each one shows what type of ships you receive, a special ability, and a number that denotes next round what place in line you fall into. The better the ship or greater the ability, the farther back in the pack you're going to find yourself once the round resets. This is your player dashboard, and in a master stroke, everything you do on your turn is printed in order right here on the board. Choose a fleet tile, buy or sell your ships, place a ship and then build a building or gain culture, save unused ships, and finally, hire specialists if able. That's it. I feel like this is a masterstroke in intuitive gameplay, since they didn't bog you down with a bunch of text. It's all symbol driven, meaning anybody can pick this game up, have a look through the turn order, and instantly understand what they're doing and are able to play right away. These are the ships that you and your friends will be hiring to lug your gear out to the build sites, with each color denoting a specific resource, such as wood or clay. Each of them are available in limited quantities, and as a matter of fact, this is one of the 4 clock mechanics I'll be talking about, as if any of these colors is empty at the end of a round, the game immediately ends. The ships are played in chains as you move your way through the islands, and your first ship, unless you start at one of these start points on the outside edge, has to match the color of the last ship played on the chain you're playing it to. Now, while there are ways to swap the positions of ships or remove them from the board entirely, what this means is that each of these resources is dear indeed and compels you to pay attention to what your friends are doing on their turn, so that when your turn comes back around, you have already planned out the placement of your ships. While I simply adore this mechanic, there is one drawback, and that is that the ships are all the same size, and shape. What this means is that you and your friends will probably be forced to find an alternative way to identify the various resources should anyone in your group be colorblind. These are the building tokens, and there's 5 of them available for draft each round. They act as the second and third clocks baked into the game, as if you can't replenish this row at the end of a round, the game immediately ends. Or if you build your final standard building, then you finish the round and then the game ends. Each token denotes the type of building you can build and the resources required to build it, with the types of buildings being standard buildings or 2 types of prestige buildings, the torii gates or the palaces. The ships required to build the buildings must be parked around the edge of the island you're building it on, but they needn't be your ships. You can take advantage of your friends' ships that they've parked there, either in anticipation of building there themselves or for a building they've built on an adjacent island. Each of your standard buildings chained from your first one after the first net you a small reward, or you can chain to the prestige building, stealing the sweet, sweet bonus out from under your friends' noses. This presents a type of crunch to the game and a neat little bit of take that as you swoop down on the prime real estate your friend might have been angling for. Money, moolah, scratch, or in this case yen? While it's never strictly identified, the coins used in the game are evocative of those used in Japan and are basically just a abstract representation of the game's economy. They're used to pay for ships or abilities or other services and play a really healthy part in the game. What this means is that since they can count for points at the end, you can't ignore generating coins in favor of other mechanics. But once you get used to the rules, it's actually quite simple to earn a pretty decent income throughout the game. These are the last bit of deliciousness drizzled over this already decadent dessert, the specialist row. As you make your way through the islands preparing to build, you sample the local cultures, gaining these culture tokens. If you have 2 of the same color or 3 of any color, you are eligible at the end of your turn to hire one of these specialists. There are 5 in play each round, and like the others I've talked about before, this is the 4th clock built into the game, because if you can't replenish this row at the end of a round, the game immediately ends. When you hire them, they come with potentially fantastic abilities, such as this one that every time you gain a prestige point, it counts as 2. While they're pretty powerful allies, we didn't find that they were very game-breaking or imbalanced, but we did discover a weird little effect that any that are not hired round by round gain extra coins. And so at the end of the game, once we understood how scoring worked, everyone would make a run on trying to hire as many as the guys as possible who had big piles of bonus coins, since those coins translate at the end of the game into prestige points. So it became less of I hire him for his ability and more about just trying to bang out a couple of extra points at the end of the game. However, I really like this mechanic, and as using it effectively as another clock for game ender is a fantastic idea. I really love the fact that a lot of these mechanics have this secondary function of effectively ending the game at a certain time. Speaking of prestige points, or PP as the game, I'm quite sure laughingly refers to them as, are what the game is all about. Represented by these fan tokens, you have various metrics for scoring, the aforementioned coins, your completed buildings, or the specialists you've hired that you derive PP from and add together. At the end of the game, the person with the most PP wins. And yeah, cheap jokes abound. This game is simply gorgeous to look at, but is never distracting. It just makes for a very pretty gameplay session. The rules are intuitive and tight, the rule book being just 8 pages long, which means that this game is easy to learn and teach, making it very family friendly, or a good gateway game for your non-gamer friends. The only game I know that I can really compare it to is Ticket to Ride, and that's because the network building mechanics are so similar. However, where Ticket to Ride can sometimes feel like multiplayer solitaire, this game absolutely keeps you engaged with everything your friends are doing because you're going to want to plan your turn pretty far in advance. We didn't really run into analysis paralysis, although as we were learning the rules, there was, some pauses here and there as we considered what we were doing. But after a couple of playthroughs, man, you just kind of hammer right through the game. It really doesn't become an issue at all. The components offer a ridiculously tactile experience that I find lacking in games that employ all tokens. And really, I feel like the game beyond that just offers a huge amount of replayability. Stunningly beautiful graphics, tactile gameplay, and just boatloads of fun means Yamatai has absolutely earned its spot on my gaming shelf. Hey, that's it for this time. Thanks for watching. You guys can get a hold of us on Facebook or Twitter. It's @boardgamerblues.com, or you can email me directly. It's JIMMIE @boardgamerblues. That's Jimmie @boardgamerblues.com. And tell us what you think of the show, or suggest games for review or unboxing, or just say hi or call me names. I have loved all of the feedback I am getting so far, and I'm having a really good time making this show for you guys. It's all about you. If you like the show, please give us a like down there, subscribe, share the show around, tell your friends. We'd love to have more people involved in the production. Hey, if I'm not traveling the water byways of a far eastern nation, I will see you guys next time on Tatooine Tableflip. Bye.